Welcome to Reluctantly Supernatural in an Age of Reason, the podcast where we explore the place of the supernatural gifts of the Holy Spirit in our lives and in the church. Our hosts, Pastors Mark Cowpersmith and Bob Maddox, combine their years of ministry experience to address the issues of the prophetic gifts in our modern world. Join us as they interview their guests from a wide variety of spiritual leadership backgrounds, as they share their insights on the place of the supernatural in the church and the world. And now, our hosts, Mark Cowpersmith and Bob Maddox.
Welcome to a Reluctantly Supernatural podcast. This is the second part of an interview that we did with Georgian Banov, amazing man of God. And in the last version we had with him, last interview we had with him, he told this amazing mountaintop experience that he'd had with the Lord, but that was just the beginning. Now, as we go into part two, he describes an even greater encounter with God. And you're going to be blown away by this.
I've got to say, too, that if you didn't catch the last one, you really should, because I thought the last one was pretty amazing, but this one blows it away. So it's good to listen to it because it happened sequentially. This is a continuation of the story, isn't it, Bob?
Yeah, exactly. So listen up, folks.
Right. From that mountain experience, I went down to the house and I knocked on the door. They welcomed me like, yay, finally, like, because they could see that I've been messed with, that something has happened to me. And yes. And they said, now, ask him to fill you or baptize you with the Holy Spirit. I'm going, what is that? Well, you got now God and Jesus. Now the Holy Spirit, it's just of God. That's all I could say. It's part of the package. So it was like, ask him to give you that. And so I started asking. And like I say, I was felt robbed those years. And now I want to get it all back, get it all now. I don't want to miss another moment, another delay. And so Holy Spirit, whatever this is, I want it. And nothing was happening for a few days. And finally I says, what's going on? It's nothing happening. Tell me if there's anything wrong with that. I'm doing something wrong because I want to get it right. They go, man, nothing wrong, man. Chill. You're so intense. You've been communist your whole life. I mean, the Lord will train you. He'll help you. So don't be insistent like this. Don't go crazy. I go, no, I want it all now. Do you understand? I can't be cheated and lied and miss anything anymore, And they go, okay. And they say, well, okay, we'll pray for you. So they put me in a side room because it was kind of a public place. And as I'm facing the wall, like I'm facing you guys, and behind me is this wall here. And suddenly in front of me, the wall disappeared. First of all, I heard a sound. Talk about sound. I heard a sound of I don't know, like you dropped me in the middle of a soccer stadium and the team is winning. So everybody's just, all around, just cheering sound. And I'm going, that's cool. And suddenly that wall disappears. Wow. And I am in the throne room. Like I can see God in the middle of this big place. And the swirling angels around, the millions seems like, and the sound of this ecstatic cheering, what I thought fans, something like that. It was coming from these angels. And they were, I couldn't even see their face because they were I could see the wings flopping like that. And they're all looking at God and God was touching them and they were in ecstasy. Guys, I mean, just real ecstasy. Now I didn't know the Bible, of course. And Psalm 16 says, in your presence is fullness of joy, and at the right hand there's pleasures forevermore. But I hear it, I see it, and the ecstaticness of that atmosphere was like, wow, like a rock show times million type of thing, and I'm going, wow. And without any warning, out of God, there was coming these like lightnings of some sort. And one of those, like a lightning shot right through their bodies and it hit me something right around here. And it's hard to describe, but it was as big as a grapefruit and fiery and boom, it hit me and went inside my body. I can't explain it. It wasn't a physical flame, but it went inside me somehow. It went inside me, I could say. And it was hot, very, very, very hot. It was pleasure in the sense of it was love, but too much. It was, yeah, it was friendly fire, but then nonetheless, it was very, very hot. And I'm like, what's that? And almost within another second or two, second ball would coming and hit me. By the second ball, I says, that's it, I can't. And I'm pulling out. I went out of this whole heaven and this whole throne room thing. I'm back in the room with the guy that led me to the Lord. His name, the main guy led me, is actually Bob too, Bob Catania. And I says, I love you, Bob. And he goes, yeah, I know you love me. I said, no, like before. I have the love of God. Can you tell? And he's staring at me like, what happened to you? And and now behind me, the fire is falling on a smaller, like not as grapefruit, but the small drops of fire is on my back, and the room is getting super hot, like an oven. So he's staring at me. I'm going, he's probably not getting what I'm saying. And it's like, and I ran away. Whoa. Ran out of it was in Ojai, California. It was a mountain area, and it was cold. It was like the end of February, March. It was still cold air after rain and stuff. And I saw a puddle of water in the asphalt about this thick. And this is a funny story, but this is how it happened. I was so on the fire, because it was fire everywhere, that I thought that if I go in that water, it'll cool me. I mean, I know it's crazy, but it's what I did. Wow. And I went down in that water, and it's not helping whatsoever. It's almost like intense heat or steam or something. And that's when I'm down in the water at the asphalt, and I'm thinking, what did I do? Did I do something wrong? Like this is unbearable. And it's just, I can't sustain it. If we increase another degree, I'll just disappear. And I felt like, what happened and why did I do something wrong? And no explanation, and out of panic, sheer panic, I'm going to go one more second of this. And I scream, stop. It's like, you're killing me. This is killing me. I can't stand anymore. Stop. And it stopped right there. And now I'm wet and cold. I'm thinking, what did I do? And the whole experience was so supernatural, guys.
Wow.
It's funny. It was just unexplainable, but that's what happened. And I was baptized with this sense of the presence of God, this fullness of joy, unbearable degree to me, humanly speaking, my body. And I knew later on, I read about, now I'm like a week old in the Lord, maybe 10 days old. So I don't know anything. And later on, I read that in heaven, we're going to have a spiritual bodies. And I go, I know why, because physical body can't handle that level of the presence. No. And so I go, yeah.
I was just reading that today in Daniel, how when the angel of the Lord appeared to him, and he was just on the floor. He was overwhelmed, no strength, nothing. It's so scriptural what you're describing.
Yeah.
So how did this experience change you as a person?
Well,
before and after, before I was this, now I was this.
Yeah, I was going to say, first of all, I'm raised by the communists, but then I was raised myself with the rock and roll, listening to the Beatles, shortwave radios and everything. We became the rebels of it, and the shows were so ecstatic, right? Of course, drugs were involved in some way, not so much, but rock shows were this, our sense of ecstasy, like humanly speaking, we're in heaven, so to speak, with the zenith of our life when we play, and the rock and roll fans are screaming and shouting, and we're causing this, and all of a sudden that became so experiential, became so small, minute, and dull and unexciting compared to the excitement that was in heaven. Like, God is ecstatic. God, he's not normal. He's not like balanced. The ecstasy It's like, woo, degrees of inexpressible, right? Joy unspeakable, right? So I was touched with the unspeakability, with that degree that is humanly not possible. And I needed that to destroy any fascination that I might have had left with rock music and the ecstasies and all this. It was annihilated. And though at the same time, I was baptized with that joy that later on helped me endure. I mean, this joy, like Bob says, this is not a fun joy, kind of like for like an ice cream. This is a spirit of the Holy Spirit. This is part of the kind of like love is. Love is not just, you love something, but it's powerful force, right? It's love of God and the joy of God. And so I became acquainted with the joy of God, the ecstasy of God, the peace of God. Those are the things that it was not just peace, not just love, but the love of God, the joy of God, the joy of the Lord, right? So later on, it really helped me through. I went through many difficulties, as every believer. We have the journeys and helped me overcome and help me stay with the Lord and help me in times where it's like, he helps me. I mean, I went through, Bob knows, I went through almost divorce, like this close. I mean, completely a broken down situation. And my wife and I, we're like co-eds. We went through so many experiences. We lived together, but we were not married anymore. And it was like very many situations I faced, very difficult. And then the Lord would help me, through this joy. It's going to be better. It's going to be okay. And there's that like hope and the joy that will sustain me in his presence, So it's big.
Bob, that's one of the most powerful Holy Spirit encounters I've ever heard of or listened to.
You're not kidding.
It's absolutely incredible. And, I have no trouble believing any of it. It's so authentic. Here's this atheist, communist kid, doesn't even know who the Holy Spirit is. His friends get him saved, and then they say, oh, you need the Holy Spirit. He doesn't know what it is. And they pray for him. And I love the fact that nothing happened. They pray for him. They're full of faith. Yeah, it's going to be easy. You're going to get the Holy Spirit. Nothing happens. A couple days later, out of the blue, absolutely spiritually ambushed, he has this incredible experience. It makes me think about John on the island of Patmos.
Oh, yeah.
It's that kind of transcendent, complete altering of your present mind, your spiritual state. I mean, it's clearly a trans-like experience, but it's so powerful. And I think, we compare ourselves to a story like this and we say, well, my story wasn't like that. Somebody else says, my story wasn't like that. Yeah, but you didn't grow up under communism as an atheist, as the only rock star in Bulgaria who had to run away and hide and come to America and go to Hollywood for what you thought was going to be your career. And the next thing you know, you're disillusioned and you're taken in by a bunch of crazy hippies. The conclusion to this story fits the whole rest of his life. It's a Pauline kind of experience, isn't it?
That's true. And when I think about where he's gone with this, I mean, he's been propelled into this international ministry of going and helping gypsies in some of the poorest and decrepit places in the world, down on the dumps, the garbage dumps of Mexico and various places. It's propelled him, just like the Apostle Paul, who had this incredible encounter with God, propelled him forward. But I love the fact that God still does these amazing kind of supernatural, overwhelming encounters with him. And I think we should be hungry for those. I think sometimes we get what we hunger for, right?
Well, it's funny you say that, because that was the next point I wanted to make, is that very evidently in his story, he's absolutely passionately hungry to know if this God they're talking about is real and to have an experience. He kept using the word intimacy. I want it to be intimate. He clearly wanted to know God. And I think God responds to the measure of our hunger. I think the hungrier we are for God, the more of God we get. And my takeaway is I need to be a whole lot hungrier for God. I need to want and basically demand more. Be importunate. It's one of the words that Jesus used to describe how we should pray. We should be importunate, which means we should make a nuisance of ourselves for more of God.
Like the
God
man
actually
knocking on
wants
his
us.
neighbor's door to get bread for his guest, or the widow
exactly,
before the judge.
yes.
Yeah.
It's the word knock, ask, seek, and knock. When Jesus said, this is how you pray, you ask, you seek, and you knock. The word knock literally means make a nuisance of yourself with God to get more of him, what you want. And George did that. He was 150% sold out before anything even happened to him. He just wanted to know God. And I think this is an encouragement to us.
Yeah.
And we don't have to measure our life against his experience, but we do have to measure our hunger. How much do I want more of God? And we will get proportionate to what we hunger for. So we should stir up our hunger.
Man.
Yeah.
Well, friends,
it was wonderful.
This was awesome to listen to his story, and we have more to come. So watch for our next episode with Georgian. It'll be coming up in the weeks ahead. Thanks for joining.
Yeah.
And stay, like Mark said, stay hungry for God. Right?
Stay hungry, my friend.
You've been listening to the Reluctantly Supernatural podcast with your hosts, Mark Cowpersmith and Bob Maddox. Be sure to check out our website at www.reluctantlysupernatural.com or visit our YouTube channel, Reluctantly Supernatural, for more videos and podcasts. To get a copy of our book, Reluctantly Supernatural in an Age of Reason, you can purchase it at Amazon.com or order it directly from us at our website, www.reluctantlysupernatural.com.